Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is July 2nd, 2018. Posting the show a day late this week. Sorry about that. I know I usually have it up by Sunday evening, but it's had a little bit of a delay, so putting it up on Monday afternoon. So, hope everybody's enjoying the show so far. Hope everybody's following on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You can get the podcast on, of course, the home of the podcast is Podbean. It's also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube. On YouTube, you can get just the audio, or if you want to look at my smiling face, you can also check out the video. They both get posted at the same time. So, whatever you choose, just as long as you're subscribing, listening, and hopefully enjoying. As always, help spread the word. Tell your friends, tell your family, anybody you know that's a wrestling fan. Ask them, check out the show. Always trying to get more followers, build the show up as big as I possibly can. And just hope everybody's enjoying it so far. So last week on the show, forgot to mention, and I feel horrible about it, forgot to mention about the passing of Leon White, better known as Big Man Vader or just Vader. Probably one of the best big men ever to set foot in a wrestling ring. Held world championships all over the world, Japan, Europe, the US, Australia, and probably best known in the US for his run in WWE, but more so, I think, well, for me at least, for his run in WCW, where he was the world champion, had a big rivalry with Sting, with Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Mick Foley as Cactus Jack at the time, and was just, probably one of the best heels as well to ever get into the ring. So definitely a big loss. Anybody who follows Vader knows the last couple of years he's been having a lot of heart problems. He had a couple of open heart surgeries over the last 6 months to a year to correct those problems, which the surgeries by all accounts were successful, but unfortunately the last month or so, I guess he came down with pneumonia, and just his heart just couldn't take the extra strain after having those few open heart surgeries, and his heart eventually just gave out on him. The fact that he's not already in the WWE Hall of Fame, to me, is just a tragedy, quite honestly. I think he should have been in there a while ago, but hopefully next year we'll be hearing about him going into the Hall of Fame. So, definitely rest in peace, Big Man Vader. Another loss to the wrestling world just this past week was Matt Cappotelli, who lost a very long battle with brain cancer. Those who aren't familiar with Matt, he was the co-winner of the third season of Tough Enough, along with John Hennigan, who of course now is known as John Morrison or Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, depending on which promotion he's wrestling in at the time. But Matt Cappotelli was the co-winner in the same season. Had a couple matches on the main roster right after that season of Tough Enough, and then went down to Ohio Valley Wrestling, which was a developmental territory for WWE at that time, and just had a really, really bright, promising future. He was supposed to come up, I believe it was 2005, to be in a tag team with The Miz, which would have been fantastic. Unfortunately, that's when he was diagnosed with brain cancer, had to undergo surgery and treatment, and had to retire from the ring. But he stayed on at Ohio Valley as a trainer for a long time after that, and he was, like I said, went through surgery, treatments, was doing well for a pretty good stretch there, and then I guess in the last year or so the cancer ended up coming back more aggressively, wasn't able to be treated, and so he, again, unfortunately passed away this past week, very young age. He was just in his mid-30s, and by all accounts, just a great human being, aside from being a great in-ring performer. Never had the pleasure to meet him myself, but I got to see a few of his matches before he had to retire from the ring, and it was definitely a big loss, because he could have been a huge star in WWE, I think. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. So rest in peace to Matt Cappotelli, and again to Big Man Vader. So moving on to some, happier stuff. Actually, first I want to cover Brock Lesnar. Now, there's a rumor floating around that Brock is not going to be defending the Universal title at SummerSlam, and we may not see him until the end of the year, maybe like as late as Survivor Series. So That's kind of up in the air. They're still kind of teasing that he may be going back to UFC. I still haven't seen confirmation of that, but he would have had to re-enter the testing pool for the drug testing for MMA by the end of last week. I haven't seen any reports that he did that as of yet, so I guess that all kind of hinges on what's going on with his MMA career as to when he's next going to appear in WWE, which I honestly think is a shame. I mean, I understand they put the Universal title on him to elevate that title, to give it some more prestige, because when that title first came out, let's face it, it wasn't very popular. They didn't like the name of it. They didn't like the belt. I'm talking about fans. So, you know, what do you do to kind of elevate that title, give it a little more meaning? You put it on somebody like Brock Lesnar, who's an attraction, and only have him defend it every few months kind of makes it a little more important. They definitely accomplished that goal, so I think it's definitely time to put that title on somebody else who is going to be on TV every week. I mean, Brock is the only champion who you only see 2 or 3 times a year. In boxing and MMA, that's one thing, because that's just how those sports are. You know, the athletes, they need that time between the matches to train, recover, get ready for the next challenge, heal from injury, things like that. Pro wrestling, you expect to see the guys on TV every week. You expect to see the titles, you know, regularly defended at least once a month at the pay-per-views, and even on TV once in a while. So I definitely think it's time to put the Universal title on somebody else, whether it's Roman Reigns, whether it's Braun Strowman, whether they go a different direction, maybe Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose is supposed to be coming back soon. So, I mean, there's no shortage of guys on Monday Night Raw that could carry that belt. Even Bobby Lashley, it looks like they're trying to kind of hint at a match with him and Brock, which I say it's about time. Quite honestly, I think that should have been done the moment Bobby Lashley came back. They should have put him directly into a program with Lesnar. Even if Lesnar's not on TV, you have Heyman come in, stir the pot, you know, and it could have been a nice big build to a great match with the two of them. So hopefully they'll take it in that direction. That's what I'm hoping to see. I'd love to see Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar go at it. So moving on to some Ring of Honor dealings here. Of course, everybody knows All In is coming up here in Chicago in September. The NWA Championship is to be defended at that show. It's supposed to be Cody Rhodes and Nick Aldis for that title. Nick Aldis, of course, current NWA champion. But he added the stipulation that in order for him to give the match to Cody, Cody would have to win the Ring of Honor Championship first. So, of course, last week was Ring of Honor's big pay-per-view Best in the World, where Cody had his shot at the Ring of Honor Championship and did not win the title. Dalton Castle retained the title that night. It was, of course, a triple threat match with Dalton Castle, Cody Rhodes, and Marty Scurll. Castle pinned Scurll to retain the title, so Cody wasn't involved in the finish, which I think is good. Cody didn't come away with the title, but he also didn't lose, so he, still looks strong as ever. And then in an interesting twist, just a night later at the Ring of Honor TV tapings, they had another match. This one was a four-way match, adding Jay Lethal into the mix, and Jay Lethal came away with the Ring of Honor Championship for his second reign. So, kind of, like I said, an interesting twist there. I'll have to see. I'm sure Cody will get another shot. One rumor I read online, which makes a lot of sense, is Ring of Honor doesn't want to put, or I should say might not, it's just a rumor, might not want to put the title on Cody just yet, because he does have a match against Kenny Omega coming up at the G1 Climax special for New Japan in San Francisco. So Ring of Honor may not want their champion to take a loss to the IWGP champion. So odds are, Kenny Omega's more than likely going to retain that title in that match. So probably after that match is when you'll see Cody pick up the Ring of Honor Championship, if they're going to keep that stipulation in place as far as Cody having to be the Ring of Honor champion in order to get the NWA title match. Of course, things could change. The NWA title could change hands in that time, and the Ring of Honor stipulation could just be out the window. Who knows? But we'll have to see where that goes. Another interesting rumor I've read online this week was Daniel Bryan's current run in WWE since being cleared after 3 years of being inactive is kind of being, it's not being billed this way, but again, it's a rumor that this is kind of like a farewell tour for Daniel Bryan because his contract is set to end on September 1st. Interesting date, but and apparently, supposedly, according to this rumor, the WWE's not certain he's going to re-sign with WWE. But I take that with a grain of salt because if they didn't think he was going to re-sign, I don't think they would have cleared him to get back in the ring. They would have just let him ride out his contract and, you know, good luck in your future endeavors, and he would have gone on to go back to Ring of Honor or New Japan or, you know, whatever, pretty much whatever indies he wanted to, because he would have, you know, ended up being the top draw outside of WWE in the world. That's pretty much guaranteed. So, like I said, I'm taking this with a grain of salt, but if that's the case, if his contract runs out September 1st and he does not re-sign with WWE before then, he would become the biggest indie star in the world, bar none. Just the fact that WWE fans know him, WWE fans love him, indie fans love him, so he's got probably the biggest following of any other indie superstar out there. You know, any show that he makes an appearance on would be almost a guaranteed sellout just by putting Daniel Bryan's name on the marquee. So it'd be very, very interesting to watch. And of course, as I said, his contract is up on September 1st. So, you know, if he doesn't re-sign with WWE, could we see Daniel Bryan at All In, at least making an appearance, not necessarily wrestling, because it'd be very short notice. I mean, by all rights, he wouldn't be able to negotiate anything with them, you know, now when he would need to, as far as negotiating a match or anything like that. But, you know, as far as an appearance, I'm sure that could be thrown together fairly last minute and just make it like a surprise appearance. They probably wouldn't even have to announce it. So definitely have to see where that goes. Like I said, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan in general because the indies are so hot, and also a great time to be a wrestler, again, because the indies are so hot. I mean, look at the names out there that are making a living for themselves, some making a better living on the indies than they could in WWE. Case in point, the Young Bucks, and they maintain complete control over their brand, and, you know, are really able to call their own shots, not have to follow WWE's rigid scheduling and things like that. But Daniel Bryan potentially ending up an indie superstar is just huge because, you know, you could see him in Ring of Honor, in New Japan, Impact, Lucha Underground, AAA, NWA shows, House of Hardcore. The list of dream matches with guys out there on the indies right now is almost endless. As far as Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega would blow the roof off of any arena in the world, is my opinion. Austin Aries, John Morrison, Nick Aldis, the NWA champion. So it's definitely going to be a fun thing to watch and keep track of. And again, you know, a lot of people try to compare indie companies like Impact or Ring of Honor, which I don't know if you necessarily call them indies because they are larger, they have national TV and things like that, but they're independent companies. I mean, they're not the big worldwide corporations like the WWE is. And, you know, a lot of people try to make the comparison as far as them competing with WWE, which none of these companies individually can. Quite honestly, they don't have WWE's money or marketing or exposure. But on the whole, talking about indie wrestling as a whole, all the different companies, Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, the smaller regional indies like Combat Zone or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and just all of the dozens and hundreds of indies all over the world, in Europe and Japan and Australia, like House of Hardcore and, you know, the NWA, all the different indies that the NWA title is defended in. Independent wrestling on the whole, I think, does compete with WWE, especially in the eyes of the wrestlers, because like I said, there are so many wrestlers out there right now who make a living outside of WWE. they create their own schedule, they name their own price, and if they may have to work a little harder getting their name out there. They kind of have to promote for themselves. They don't have the WWE machine backing them and blasting their name all over the place. They have to do all that for themselves. But you see with guys like Cody Rhodes and like Kenny Omega and like the Young Bucks and Marty Scurll, the Bullet Club members and things like that, independent wrestlers don't need the WWE anymore. And I think that signifies a big shift, because it used to be WWE was the end-all be-all. If you were a pro wrestler, if you wanted to be able to make it and be able to survive and make a living as a pro wrestler, for so many years WWE was the only place you could go, especially after all the territories closed down. WCW went out of business, ECW went out of business, and WWE was the only game in town as far as on a national or worldwide level. But now, with all these independents, it's different than in the days of the territories, because the territories were always very competitive, and it was a really kind of cutthroat business back in those days. Now, a lot of the independent promotions, they work together, they share talent. Even the larger companies like Ring of Honor and Impact will share talent with other promotions within certain limits. Sometimes, wrestler won't be able to, a Ring of Honor contracted guy won't be able to wrestle someplace else if they have like national TV or something like that. But, or shouldn't say national TV, but like national, or I guess it'd be worldwide, like a streaming service or something like that. But you see Impact guys wrestling in Lucha Underground and vice versa. You see Ring of Honor guys in New Japan and other independent promotions around the country and around the world. So it's a lot more open. Not so cutthroat. I mean, all the promoters are still out to make money, but not necessarily at the expense of the other promoters, and not at the expense of the wrestlers either. The wrestlers have a lot more freedom to go out there, make their money, get their names out there, make a living, and make a good living. So I'll say it again, it's a very, very exciting time, and it seems like the WWE is starting to kind of dip their toe in the water as far as following suit, as far as sharing talent with other companies. Now, for quite a while, you've seen NXT guys performing on indies that WWE has working agreements with, like Progress and Insane Championship Wrestling and things like that over in Europe. You'd see a lot of NXT guys over there. You see the UK title defended on the European independent scene. Now with the advent of NXT UK, I don't know if you'll see that as much. You may see NXT bringing in guys from Progress or from ICW or the other European independent promotions into the NXT UK brand. So we'll have to see, how that goes, if Pete Dunne's still going to be wrestling in other organizations defending that UK title. But you also see Adam Cole defending the North American title on some of the other independent promotions. So it seems like WWE is kind of going through a feeling out process. It was actually just announced that, and this is pretty big, the first main roster star, Hideo Itami, is going to be going back to his original home promotion, Pro Wrestling Noah, in Japan to perform. Apparently Noah and WWE have worked out an arrangement to kind of share Hideo Itami. So it seems like this is it wasn't marketed this way, but it seems like it's kind of a testing phase. Let's see how this works out. Let's see, is he still going to be that big draw in Japan? Can we send him over there and, maybe make a little money for us off of it and make some money for Pro Wrestling Noah off of it, getting their, former top name superstar back over there for a few shows. And if that works out, who knows? If WWE starts working out talent sharing agreements with independent promotions, that could be huge. I don't think you'll ever see a Roman Reigns or a Seth Rollins or an AJ Styles. I don't think you'll see any of the top tier guys shared in any other promotions, simply from a viewpoint of, well, we don't want those guys getting injured on some indie show. So as much as I'd love to see a talent exchange between WWE and New Japan, especially to use the Bullet Club. I'd love to see a Bullet Club invasion of WWE. I don't think you'd ever see, like I said, top name talent being sent elsewhere to actually wrestle. Maybe make appearances, but not actually wrestle. because, like I said, they're not going to want an AJ Styles getting injured at a New Japan show and being out for X amount of months. So I don't think you'll ever see it to that level where you're trading an AJ Styles for a Kenny Omega for 6 months or something like that. But mid-card guys, NXT guys, I definitely could see that happening. It opens up a lot of doors for people, and I think the fans can only benefit from that. So again, something to watch and see where it goes. I think it's going to be a very slow process. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. Like I said, the deal with Hideo Itami, I think it's kind of like a testing phase, just dipping their toe in the water. I don't think WWE has a lot of confidence in Hideo Itami anyway, because he had so many injury issues when he first started with NXT. He was out for the better part of a year with injuries, and then came back and was injured again. So, it's like I said, it's kind of a testing phase. Okay, we'll try it with this guy that we don't necessarily have a whole lot of faith or confidence in, see how it works, and then kind of go from there. So hopefully it's the start of a new trend with WWE, because it's definitely working on the indies. Being able to see Brian Cage on Impact and then on Lucha Underground and then on another indie show, it works for the promoters, it works for the wrestlers, it works great for the fans. So hopefully WWE will get on board with that, and you'll see a little bit more of this in the future. Definitely something to watch. So that's pretty much what I got for this week. Like I said, sorry about the day late posting of the show. Hope everybody's enjoying it. Again, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You can find the podcast on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and also on YouTube. Just go to any one of those platforms, search Catch, Hook, Shoot. You should be able to find it. And ever want to comment, question, anything like that, I welcome any comments on any of those pages. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So hope everybody has a good week. Looking forward to Raw tonight, see how the ongoing storylines play out, which I'll definitely get into next week. So until then, I will talk to you guys soon.